What is the ratchet mechanism? Well, the Paris Agreement of 2015 has two important elements. One is that countries are to make pledges every 5 years, and the other is that these pledges, called nationally determined contributions or NDCs, are developed independently by each country. They're not binding under international law. So this structure in which the NDCs are consistent with domestic political realities led to the very broad participation that the Paris Agreement enjoys. 97% of global emissions are associated with parties who are participating. But this very same phenomenon also meant that the individual NDCs would be less than very ambitious. Countries pay the costs of their actions, but they don't get all the benefits of their actions. The Paris Agreement, in order to address that problem, includes an element which essentially says that each of the parties will seek to make their NDC every 5 years more ambitious than their previous one, thereby ratcheting up ambition in terms of the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So an important question really is how long it will take before we will feel the impacts of these policy mechanisms. The first thing to recognize is that the annual climate negotiations are a marathon, not a sprint. Climate change is a stock, not a flow problem, because the degree of climate change is a function not of the emissions in any year, but the accumulated stock in the atmosphere. And carbon dioxide, for example, has a half-life in the atmosphere greater than 100 years. So if CO2 emissions begin falling tomorrow by 5% per year, which would be very ambitious and more than what anyone expects, the rate of warming won't begin to change in a detectable way until after 20 years. And that's according to a recent article published in Nature. Action now on climate change is important to take, but it's also important to recognize that although climate change is already taking place and will continue to take place, to carry out policy actions so that we can reduce climate change, not just in our own lifetimes, but in the next generation and the generations after that.